Hi, and welcome to my channel, Laura's Library Card. I recently read the book Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam, and this is my vlog, so here we go. Hi. Okay, so it is almost exactly 6 o'clock on Monday, and I have just realized book club is in 48 hours and 2 minutes, and I have a lot of plans for the next 48 hours, like, sleep and work. And Tuesday night is my regular Dungeons and Dragons game. So I have not started the book club book, and there's not very much time to work on it. So good thing I don't have any plans this evening. So I'm going to be diving into the book club book, which is Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam. And I thought I would just try to vlog it shortly, but I am not so great at short vlogs. So let's see how this goes. Okay, so I'm literally in the second paragraph, and it says, the traffic congealed. Their gray car was a bell jar, a microclimate, air conditioning, the funk of adolescence, sweat, feet, sebum. Uh, okay. This is like already kind of. Okay. Okay, so I am 10% of the way into this book. I just finished chapter 5. And so far, it's kind of weird. Plot wise, like nothing has really happened. The family has driven to and arrived at their vacation Airbnb, nice big house. And I don't know. The writing is just kind of weird. I saw a Goodreads review that said it was very stream of consciousness, and I could see that it just drift from sort of topic to topic. But also, it feels kind of like pretentious. Like I don't know. Maybe that's not the right word, but there's a lot of weird word choices here, like the traffic congealed and like the descriptions of things. There's multiple times where I've had to click on a word to have my Kindle to find it, which is not common for me. And I frequently have done that because either it's just a weird word or it's like a weird word choice. Like the mom looks over at her kids who have had like a long day being cooped up in the car and then hours and hours in the pool. So they are like lounging on the couch, and it says that they're like relaxed and fatted and I'll try to find it. Let's see. Okay, yeah. Her children looked dazed, fatted, odalisques on the couch. And I was like, what are odalisques? And so I like clicked on it, and it was like women in a harem who are just lounging around. And I'm like, why is that the word choice that this mother is thinking in reference to her kids? And like, I just read this like sex scene between the parents, and it was just like, I mean, it's not a sex scene. It's like, let's think about the sex scene. And I was like, oh, okay. And I don't know. I am not enjoying this writing style. And it's just like, it's just weird to me. It's not like tension or like, honestly, for me, it feels pretentious. And it's as if you're like trying to say something about it. And I'm like, why? Like, it's just, you're making weird choices here and I don't like it. So far, not so great. Okay, so update. I am at 31%. I'm in the middle of chapter 13. There's been more plot in that the people who are saying they are the owners of the house have shown up to this Airbnb and said something has happened. There's a big blackout of no power in all of New York City. We came home. And they're kind of shook up, and our vacationers, like our main characters, who have rented this house are also kind of shook up, especially the mom. The dad's like, oh man, these like old people have come. They're shook up. They're scared. And the mom is like, it's a con. They're going to murder us. And so that's the plot that has happened. So it's like chapter 13 is the morning after these people have stayed over at the house overnight, and everyone's hoping that things will kind of look brighter in the morning and they'll have figured things out and have more news and more information. There have been a couple sort of maybe three like throwaway lines that are things like, well, if they had known to look closer, they would have seen things were not right. There's just like a couple little ominous bits that are happening like that. But overall, I'm just kind of like, I'm glad that it's going quickly as I read. And then I'm kind of gotten past the weird writing voice because I'm not really like enjoying it, but I'm not really hating it. So I'm just kind of plugging along at this point. Okay, so I paused to work on the laundry and I played some Animal Crossing, but I have made more progress in The World We Leave Behind. I am right at about 50%, 49%, and I have just finished chapter 21. More plot is happening. I mean, I guess stuff is happening, but it's like this whole book is not plot heavy. It's just very like atmospheric. And so we have some separation of people. The kids are off playing in the woods and the dad has taken the car to like go try to get into town and see what's happened. So like not really plot unless you count having lunch plot. But the like tense atmosphere continues. I just read this whole 2 pages where it said, did it matter if blah, 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 blah happened? Did it matter if blah, 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 blah happened? And I was unclear while I was reading that if that's what really had happened. You know, there was an accident and someone died. There was really a bomb. Or if I was unclear if that was actually happening elsewhere or if that was just conjecture because it was saying, did it matter if such and such happened? And it was like using the did it matter if phraseology over and over just kind of threw that into question as to what was really happening. So there definitely has been that like layering in of tension. I'm still not super enjoying this. I think that if I was not reading this for a book club, I probably would have DNF'd it. But it's not boring, but it's not interesting either. It's just kind of like trucking along, and there's still just like weird phraseology happening with the writing style. I'm not really a fan, and I think I said this earlier, but I'm going to repeat it. It just feels kind of pretentious, as there are like there are single sentences here and there that are kind of like nuggets of like, okay, you're stating something about the human condition, but then there's a lot of other moments where I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. So maybe I'll put a quote or two here on the screen, but otherwise, I'm just not really loving this yet. Okay, so it's Tuesday, and fate has decreed that D&D is done early, and I can continue reading this book. So I am just done with chapter 25. I'm 61% of the way in. There's been a noise, a big, loud noise that nobody can understand what it was. And it was like absolutely terrifying because they don't know what's happening out in the world. And that's kind of all that's happening. So, okay, so I'm at 80%. A little more plot has happened in that stuff is still weird and people don't know what's going on. So that is the whole book. The whole book is, that's weird. I wonder what's happening. Oh my gosh, that's weird. Starting to panic. Don't know what's happening. And that's the whole book. And so I don't hate that idea as a premise, but I think I have decided I would much rather see the fallout than be in the middle of the what's happening unknowing part. It's definitely weird and unsettling, but like I still kind of hate the writing style. But I am bound and determined to finish this. Okay, so I finished the book. I finished Leave the World Behind. I wish I would have left this book behind. Basically, this whole book is like the start of the end of the world, I think. I don't know. We never really get like official clarity on what is happening, but basically, like, we follow this family and then this couple, and everyone's freaking out because no one understands what's happening because it's the start of the end of the world. So that's it. Like, there's not really resolution. We don't find out what really happened or what is happening. There are these hints about like what the world will be like in the future. It just was like a whole bunch of like, we don't know. Here's some weird writing to explain nothing. This book was not really meant for me, and I'm kind of interested to see what my book club thinks, because I have a feeling that, I mean, I'm in a book club with like a bunch of old people and then like the librarian. And so I don't know, it's going to be kind of a mixed bag, I think. But so just sort of most of this was writing that I didn't really like. I thought it was weird. And then there were occasional little nuggets of like, okay, I see what you're trying to say there. Like, okay. But mostly I just didn't like this book. So my book club is on Wednesday. I will report back and kind of wrap this vlog up with how the talk goes. But this is just not really for me. Maybe it was done well, but I just cannot appreciate this writing. I don't know, but to me it just was not great. And so 2 stars, 2.5 stars. I don't know. Stay tuned for my final thoughts. Okay, so book club just finished. I wanted to come on here and kind of finish my thoughts. I thought that our discussion was pretty interesting. Mostly people were complaining that nothing happened, and I totally agree with that, because plot-wise, nothing, in particular really happens. And that was sometimes frustrating because I felt like that meant that the book lacked some tension or pull or drive, I guess. But I don't know, some good points were made during book club, which was, someone kind of pointed out that this was maybe the point of the book, that to have this was something I had thought about. My point was that it would have been more interesting to have read about characters who were in the center of the problem, who were, who were the heroes, or maybe not even heroes, but people who were more central to understanding what was going on and having to kind of be in a more high drama scenario. And it was sort of pointed out that like that was maybe not the point of this book, which I understand and was potentially interesting, because we have seen the person who rises to the top gathers their courage. We've seen that plenty of times. But for me, it was just kind of frustrating that the lack of information and the inability to make decisions, and the fact that we as the readers didn't actually know what was happening. And so we couldn't like cheer people on or say, no, don't do that. That was the frustrating part. One of my book club members actually pointed out that she felt that the characters were actually written quite consistently, and their actions and reactions were consistent with the character that was presented. And as she explained, with an example that Amanda, the mom, had been, a manager. She was is a manager and is in charge of people and, kind of making decisions and being decisive and giving people directions. And we see this sort of throughout the book because she's managing her household, her husband, her kids. And then also at the end where I expressed frustration at her seeming to not be able to carry out a plan or really like make a plan. My book club member friend also said that she was sort of still in that mode. She kept just saying, we need to find we need to do the thing. We need to find the answer. We need to find out what's happening. And she just kept saying that over and over because she was waiting for that command to be carried out. And to some extent, the dad, Clay, like he wanted the recognition of being a dad and being paternal, but he didn't actually want to do the work. And so, he put on the front of saying he was going to go out to find out what happened, but he wasn't actually capable of doing that. So I felt like that insight was helpful to me. And we just kind of discussed what it would be like to be in this situation. And, I don't know. I felt like my friend Lindsay had some good points and kind of raised the book in my estimation. But overall, I think I'm going to settle on a final rating of a 2.5 stars. I just don't think that this book subgenre was really meant for me. I really did not jive at all with the writing style. I just did not like the word choices or how it was written. I felt like there was like this weird level of sexualization happening where there was like metaphors and like people, like there was a lot of reference to sexual acts, whether actual sex or masturbation or even just descriptions of how like clothing fit. And I never felt like the Washingtons, Ruth and GH, I never felt like they were really fleshed out the way I wanted them to be. They seemed less reprehensible, but also less moral, like not less moral, they were not better by comparison. They were just kind of like fell flat for me. So overall, I get what the point of this book was trying to do. It just wasn't for me, and I did not like the writing style. So I'm going to give it just sort of a middle of the road 2.5 stars. Probably won't be coming back to this author in the future. If you had a different opinion or feel like I definitely missed something, please leave that down in the comments. I'd really like to hear other people's opinions because Goodreads seems to be really hit and miss. There's like lots of 5-star, 4-star reviews, and there's a lot of 1-star reviews. So it's kind of a polarizing book, I think. So let me know if this vlog was terrible or what you thought about this book or any sort of feedback. That would be great. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.